This is more of the information about this person.
Through Sunday.
Yep.
We go now to Lucas Tomlinson with the latest from the administration. Lucas.
Good morning, Ashley and Todd. The shooter was born Robert Westman, but changed his name to Robin 6 years ago. First Lady Melania Trump offering her condolences.
6 years ago. You're 22 years old. That means you did it when you're 16. So your parents are enabling this. The parents should have some degree of accountability here. I mean, if you're gassing your kid up and probably ignoring signs that your kid is delusional and deranged, at what point, like, why is nobody talking about the parents here?
In quote, "My heart is shattered for the families and friends of the victims of today's senseless and depraved violent act. The shooting began during a school-wide mass marking the beginning of the school year at around 8:30 local time yesterday morning. The shooter opened fire with a rifle, shotgun, and pistol, all legally purchased weapons, according to police. 2 children ages 8 and 10 were killed. 17 others were wounded, including 14 children and 3 elderly individuals. Also, according to police, his mother previously worked at the school. FBI Director Kash Patel is calling this a hate crime, posting...
That's how he had the whole layout of the church area that he shot up.
The FBI is investigating this shooting as an act of domestic terrorism, a hate crime targeting Catholics.
It's undeniably a hate crime targeting Catholics. Anybody saying it's not is just a demon.
I will continue to provide updates on our ongoing investigation with the public as we are able. Now, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem says the shooter at the Catholic school was a 23-year-old man claiming to be transgender. The words "for the children" and "where is your God" and "kill Donald Trump" were written on a rifle magazine. That's according to Kristi Noem. She also said, quote, "Our deepest prayers are with the children, parents, families, educators, and Christians everywhere. We mourn with them, we pray for healing, and we will never forget them." Now, there have been 415 hostile acts against the church across the country this year. There's also been a sharp rise in attacks on Christians over the past 7 years.
It's been pretty obvious that people have normalized attacks and negativity towards Christians. I think it's pretty common that this has happened. And I think it's also, and another point is probably also how it's reported too. But it's pretty obvious that attacks on people because they are, like, I guess, Christian, and I think that negative sentiment towards Christianity is a lot more socially accepted than negative sentiment towards Judaism or Islam. And I think the best way that you can easily say that is that what are the words that people use? Anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Is there a word for Christian-like phobia? There is technically, but nobody probably even knows what it is. So I think that really kind of goes to show where the bias is here.
Have increased 730% since 2018. Now, the shooter fired through the windows of the church and did not enter the building. He later died by suicide. Ashley, Todd.
Lucas Tomlinson live for us. Lucas, thank you. In just a few hours, Minnesota officials are expected to give an update on the shooting as we learn more about the shooter and their motive.
The coward that shot these victims took his own life in the rear of the church. That coward has been identified as 23-year-old Robin Westman. No prior criminal history. As to the weapons used to perpetrate this horrific attack, there was a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol.
That's a lot.
All 3 had been lawfully purchased by the shooter. At this stage, we believe that the shooter had acted alone. We are also aware of a manifesto that the shooter had timed to be released on YouTube. This manifesto appeared to show him at the scene and included some disturbing writings.
What a surprise.
The shooting happened in Hennepin County, where Rich Stanek served as the sheriff. He joins us now. Rich, thanks for getting up and talking to us about this. I wish it was on better terms here. But, you know, what makes me the most sick about all of this, when you think about it, are those 2 kids who lost their lives. Their parents were putting them to bed for the last time the night before he was filming this horrific and disturbing manifesto about what he was going to do the next day. And that does not sit well with me. And I know it doesn't sit well with other parents.
It's disgusting.
Did you ever think that something like this?
I think that there should be a massive outcry that people have for the amount of social support and allowance for this type of behavior that happens. Because right now, there's this massive, there's like a concerted effort for these people to seemingly not connect or have any sort of increase in mental health problems. It's fucking weird. Yeah, exactly. Like, people need to stand up and shut this stuff down. Like, this is, as I said before, like, I think that this should be like a hot button issue for like the next elections. Is anybody who thinks that kids can transition and consent to sex changes, this should just be like, you should ask that of every single Democrat. And if any of them say yes, this should be like a categorical disqualifier, like flat earth. It's insane.
Would happen where you served as sheriff.
Just go to prison. I don't know about that.
You know, there really aren't words that can describe what happened yesterday here in Minneapolis. I mean, reprehensible, cowardice, and honestly, the third one I can't even say on live TV. And talking with first responders who were at the scene, they said it was horrific and ghastly. Young kids, parents, the most vulnerable parts of our society.
Make guns hard to get to? No, I think you're right. I think that definitely, like, people like this that are buying a bunch of guns, especially recently, like if you're buying a shotgun, a pistol, and a rifle all at the same time very recently, I think that there definitely should be like a degree of red flags that you have. Like, I feel like people should be able to own a gun, but if a person is questionable in terms of their mental state, it's absolutely a conversation whether this person should own a gun or not. There needs to be more of them.
A church service, young school-age children in school that first week celebrating together, and then you have something like this.
When you talk to your colleagues in law enforcement there on the ground in Minnesota, had any of them heard anything about this killer before? In other words, was she on anybody's radar?
You know, I mean, the investigation will tell what exactly was the true motive. You've heard the FBI say they're looking at it as a domestic act of terrorism. You've heard them say they're looking at it as a hate crime. He really didn't have much of a criminal history. May have been a graduate of the school. Still a lot of facts that need to be. A
lot of people are saying, like, oh, just make it easier to buy a gun. I think that Germany proves that that's not really that's not like an end goal solution. Like, people in Germany end up killing more people with cars than people in America do with with guns. Like, per mass event, right? Obviously, collectively, of course, Americans kill each other with guns way, way more. But like, in terms of like some guy driving through a crowd in Germany, massive amounts of people get killed. So like, if you get rid of guns, that's not going to solve the problem. That's cap. Well, let's take a look. So here we go. These are just like some of the recent ones, right? This is all from 2025. 28 people are hurt. 1 person is dead. 2 are dead right here. Several are injured. And you have over here, right here, killing at least 2 people. Like, people get killed by this also. Like, and again, my point that I'm making with this is not that Germany's bad. I'm not trying to shit on Germany. What I'm trying to say is that you can't just, it's the same reason like Britain banning knives, for example. Like, Britain banning knives isn't going to solve the underlying problem that people are trying to use knives. The underlying problem here is that people are trying to go out and kill people. That's the real issue here. And so if you ban, like, number one, you're never going to ban guns. It's just not going to happen. Anybody that's advocating for that is a retard. It's not even ever going to happen. There are too many guns. You also can 3D print guns like Luigi did. This is a losing fight, and you are losing it more every single day. So let's not even get into wasting our time with that. The point is, though, if people don't have a gun, there are other ways that you can use to kill people. That's my point. The problem really is about identifying these nutballs before they do it and preventing it from happening in the first place. What you mean is, if you take guns away, they'll find another way to kill a lot of people? Yeah, of course they will. Yeah, that's really what I'm saying. That's my point. And I'm not, and again, I'm not advocating, I'm not saying, like, there are some gun laws. I would say, yeah, maybe we should probably do this for sure. But, like, I'm just saying that's not like a magic solution.
Dug up
that's
and brought
that's my
to
point.
light. But at this point, it really doesn't matter. The horrific incident happened. Children are dead. 17 others were, shot. And that's just one part of a series of tragic homicides in the city of Minneapolis in just 24 hours or less. There were 5 people
That's
killed.
a lot.
4 different shootings. A mass shooting just less than 20 hours before this, 2 miles away from this elementary school out in front of a high school. And, we can do so much better as residents of Minneapolis, the public. Everybody wants to help. Some people don't know quite how to help, but just be supportive.
Stop voting for people that don't want to treat these people like nutballs. That's how you help. Stop letting your empathy get people killed. If you want to help, that's how you help.
That's
the reason.
The age of this person is something that comes into question for me. 21, 23 years old. And I'm just wondering, can the parents be held accountable for anything that happened here? Or is the age, since this person was over the age of 18, can they not be held accountable?
I don't think they really can, but I think that society should hold them morally accountable, but like legally, I don't think it's really possible that you can hold them accountable. Like the person's 22, 23 years old. I mean, you obviously raised a lunatic. I think that you probably knew that you had a lunatic on your hands and you didn't report it. You didn't say anything. Like, what do you think the probability is that the parents thought that their kid was actually of sound mind? Probably 0%, right? And so like at a certain point, yeah, obviously you should have reported this, but like, what can you really do about it? It's kind of hard to say.
I think, again, the facts will come out through the intense investigation by federal, state, local, law enforcement. But it appears from what the Minneapolis police chief said that the guns were purchased illegally, not through a straw buyer, not something like that. But they're going to look at all those things.
Yeah, I think so too.
The fact of the matter is this suspect, if he was age 22, 23, is a legal adult here in Minnesota, in this country. And it's just tragic how this came to this. I'm sure they're going to find mental health issues. They're going to find, patterns of behavior that weren't quite right. The question is, who did what when they learned about it? Who did they talk to? Who did they report it to? I saw, like many of you, his manifesto posted online yesterday afternoon. You watched that, 11 minutes of it, like I saw, and you'll go, something is definitely wrong here. We can do so much better.
And to that point, Rich, Melania Trump speaking out following yesterday's horrific event, saying there needs to be some kind of preemptive intervention. And she's referring in large part to the mental health aspect of this.
Thank God. Yes.
I'd like to focus on the law enforcement. I was listening to Trace Gallagher's show, and he had an individual.
Oh, great. We have a bunch of Karens standing around holding out candles so they can feel good about themselves while they continue to vote for politicians and policies that allow this stuff to continue to happen. But the important thing is that they feel good about doing it. Thank God.
Aaron Cohen on saying he's starting a program that basically has AI scouring the web for any possible warning signs. Would that help find and stop a potential killer like this well before they even think about doing something as horrific as this?
Well, law enforcement will tell you, the FBI will tell you that mental illness is a factor in many of these people who act out like this, and it's not the first time.
It's obvious.
Suspected shooter was not
talking about Minority Report. No, it's not Minority Report. Like whenever somebody says I'm going to shoot up a school, or if anybody tells me that I can't be who I want to be, I'm going to kill them. You just go to their house and arrest them and then put them in an insane asylum. Like that's it. It's done. Like it's literally so simple. That's not Minority Report. That's common sense.
About using social media, as you know, he posted this, and timed it so that it would be released after the shooting happened and
using
maybe
AI,
his death?
though? Of course, you shouldn't make the decision with AI. You should help AI identify people that you then make a decision on a personal level. Duh. Of course.
I'm sure they're going to find a long trail of information about him and his motives. And again, why didn't somebody intervene? Why didn't somebody say something?
Because they're afraid of the chilling effect of saying that a trans person has any sort of mental problems. That's the reason why. And you can look at even, for example, that person in Battlefield 6 that was suspected of cheating, and everybody who was calling them out for cheating was being accused of being transphobic. That's the reason why you don't have anybody calling this out and saying anything about it.
We always find out afterwards. We do it kind of autopsy without blame, going back to an investigation to figure out why it happened, how it happened, who knew, and what can we do to do better, lessons learned. But it doesn't change the fact that these 2 young kids are dead, 17 others wounded. This community is in mourning. I was born and raised in this community. I spent 40 years as a police officer in the city of Minneapolis and Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. My colleagues who were at the scene, again, horrific and ghastly. No easy way to describe it.
And you, like Ashley said, we pray for the families, but
yeah, it's nuts.
You know, to this point about AI, there have to be some breadcrumbs that AI.
It's not breadcrumbs. They're leaving out the entire loaf, and then the government just says, "I don't know where it is." Like, these are people who are openly making calls to violence constantly on social media platforms. Are you really telling me that you can't figure out who's doing this? What the fuck are we doing? Are you telling me that Destiny can find Ethan Klein's 15-year-old Reddit account to embarrass him over an internet beef, but the FBI can't figure out who's making threats right now? What the fuck is going on? Really?
Work with law enforcement to find.
We've got technology coming out.
Think about this.
Everything else. I don't know why we can't do it with that.
Rich Stanek, thanks for your time.
You know, the technology is one part.
Oh my God,
folks, but you've also got to have
they're lazy
in place.
I don't know what they are
with it. Something to react.
There has to be
what you
people
find.
have to be.
That's a problem. It's an expensive proposition.
Yeah.
Well, we're wasting
takes a lot of money.
millions of dollars whenever they're needing, for all these politicians who need all of this money for their elections and their campaigns.
Yeah.
If we can garner up hundreds of millions of dollars for campaigns, for politicians, we can get money to get armed guards and to get what we need to protect these kids.
It's all that matters. Rich
no,
Stanek,
it's more important. No, it's more important that instead of having armed guards for schools, we have to reaffirm somebody's gender identity. No, that's what really matters the most, is you should focus on the gender identity instead. That's what really matters, guys. It's absolutely fucking insane. But I'll watch one more thing about this, and I want to move on to another topic, obviously, because there's other things I want to look at.
And reactions are pouring into yesterday's school shooting, and as usual, some people out there using the opportunity to play politics.
Of course.
Former Biden press secretary Jen Psaki spinning this tragedy into an attack on President Trump's crime crackdown in Washington, D.C. Peter Ducey joining us live at the White House with more on this. Hi, Peter.
Bill, good morning. Jen Psaki did not wait for any information at all about the shooter or about the motive before she took
wonder this dumb bitch got her show canceled.
to X to post the following. Prayer is not freaking enough. Prayers do not end school shootings. Prayers do not make parents feel safe sending their kids to school. Prayer does not bring these kids back. Enough with the thoughts and prayers. And then, when kids are getting shot in their pews at a Catholic school mass, and your crime plan is to have National Guard put mulch down around D.C., maybe rethink your strategy.
What? What the fuck are you talking about?
Minnesota is blue statewide, and the governor, Tim Walz, wasn't ready to make such a big jump.
Receiving a call from President Trump, who was with his leadership team of the Attorney General and the Vice President.
It's bad when Tim Walz is the reasonable one next to you. Like, this guy seemed like like what he said yesterday was pretty reasonable. I would say this guy, he played it pretty well.
expressing
That's
their
bad.
deep condolences amongst
real
the war
bad.
that happened and an offer to provide the support to the folks here in Minnesota of what's needed.
On the Psaki point about the National Guard, Vice President Vance is telling USA Today, we don't want indefinitely to put National Guardsmen on the street of our cities. We just want to make sure those streets, make those streets more safe. And even Democratic D.C. Mayor Bowser agrees.
We greatly appreciate the surge of officers that enhance what MPD has been able to do.
So let me get this straight. So the mayor is okay with it. The president's okay with it. The citizens there, other than I think probably the ones that came in from out of state, are also okay with it. Crime has gone down. There's apparently like no homicides that have happened, but apparently this woman wants to go out and tweet and complain about it. She's got nothing to do with it. She wasn't at first.
City, a 87% reduction in carjackings in Washington, D.C.
Wow. So you're telling me this was all just optional? That's crazy. That's, oh my God.
We know that when carjackings go down, when the use of gun goes down, when homicide or robbery go down, neighborhoods feel safer.
Mayor Bowser also says that she does worry that all these extra federal law enforcement officers on the street could erode some of the trust that residents have with the Metro PD department, the normal beat cops that'll be here long.
I mean, I think that what should have eroded their trust with the Metro PD is the fact that the carjackings were so high in the first place. That's the truth. Like, of course they shouldn't trust the police because they wouldn't have needed to have these people there if the police could be trusted to uphold the law. And in a lot of cases, it's probably not even the police's fault. They're probably underfunded, understaffed, and they don't have the resources to do it. I wouldn't even entirely blame them.
After the National Guard goes away. But we've come a long way from a couple weeks ago when Mayor Bowser called the federal crime crackdown authoritarian. Bill.
Yeah, we certainly have. Peter Ducey live at the White House for us. Peter, thank you.
And Mary Catherine Ham joins us now. Thank you for being here, Mary Catherine. Jen Psaki said what she said about prayer. There was other posts like that on X, but also the mayor of Minnesota said something
criminals
similar.
out repeatedly? Yeah.
Don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church.
What do you want to do? Like, the thing is, like, these people never want to take the action that it would actually take to get rid of this. But they want to penalize other people for doing thoughts and prayers.
Mary Catherine,
you also talk shit about them.
Very helpful yesterday in providing some context of this. Mother of young children.
Yeah, that's the guy that cried over. By the way, that's the same guy that cried over George Floyd's casket. And now he's telling people not to give thoughts and prayers.
Your thoughts this morning?
Yeah, I just think, first of all, my thoughts and prayers are with the families who are dealing with this unspeakable tragedy today and having to talk to their children about it, those who lost their children. It is right and good and I think necessary to pray in these times. It is sad to hear public figures very quickly turn to saying that prayer is nonsense or unnecessary or weak. And I think if I were to give them the good faith interpretation that they're unwilling to give their friends on the right, I would say that this is a call to action, right? They're frustrated that there's not action that goes with prayer. But your response does not need
which is fair. That's true. They're right about that.
Prayer. Yeah. And it becomes actually perverse when the people in the pews were likely attacked for practicing
Well, let's be honest, right? Would they be denigrating prayer if this had happened in a mosque? No, of course not. And this is just what I've said before. There's a massive anti-Christian sentiment that's been relatively normalized in America. No, and everybody knows the answer is no. It's a double standard. Nobody should take these people seriously. Don't listen to what they say and assume that they have good intentions. Don't go and be like, oh, well, they're trying to help. No, they're not. They're not trying to help. They have no actual convictions. There are no principles behind this. It is just simply people trying to push their ideology.
religion, for practicing this tenet of faith.
Not engaging in faith, exactly.
Because that didn't protect them, or because that doesn't solve the problem, that people should not pray and that you denigrate that practice.
Sure.
I have lived a life that has had its portion very different, but nonetheless of sort of unthinkable tragedy. And prayer did not solve the fact that my husband died while I was 7 months pregnant, but it did not prevent that, but it got me through every single day after that. And it helped me to raise my children.
Well, it's not even about that to me. It's that they would never denigrate prayer if this had happened in a mosque or a synagogue. They're only doing this because it happened in a Catholic church, and it's more socially acceptable to denigrate Christianity. It's obvious, and anybody with a brain can see it. And again, this is the same performative nonsense that this person cried over George Floyd's casket. You didn't even know George Floyd.
And I just think that taking the message to the public that is somehow an insult
Hypocrisy?
to people who were killed while practicing their faith is so gross.
Mary Catherine, we see this over and over. First responders are still on scene trying to figure out what happened, and then we get the inevitable tweets from politicians politicizing it, right? We saw it from Jen Psaki. We saw Hakeem Jeffries yesterday say that weapons of war shouldn't be on the streets before we even knew what the weapons were. Why do we see this over and over and over? People refusing to at least wait for some facts to come in.
Yep.
Well, and the thing is, look, people are upset with good reason, right? There is evil in
It's not about the act of prayer. You're being too literal. It's about their belief that conservatives always say thoughts and prayers at every mass shooting, but then do nothing to address the problems. Yeah, but that's not what I said. That wasn't my criticism. I think everybody agrees with you on that. But also the problem is that a lot of those same liberal people don't want to take the actions that would be required in order to deal with these problems in the effective way. How do you deal with these problems? You put people like this in insane asylums preemptively. Whenever somebody displays violent antisocial behavior, you lock them up before they commit a crime. That's what you do. And so would they want to do that? No, they wouldn't. So the problem, and this is the reason why I don't give their perspective any real genuine credibility, is that number one, I think it's performative because they would never say it about another minority group like, let's say, Muslims, which, by the way, you shouldn't be saying it about any group, right? It would be disrespectful for them or disrespectful for Christians. But I'm saying that there's clearly a double standard. The other reason, too, is that they don't support initiatives that actually take preemptive action against people like this and try to prevent these things from happening in a legitimate way. Their idea is just ban all guns, and you're never going to ban all guns. That's not what's going to happen. You know, psychopaths? Yeah, exactly. It's their voters? Yeah. Insane asylums extreme? How about mandatory mental screening? I know it's extreme. Have you seen these people? They're extreme. They're animals.
World, we don't always know how to defeat it. That's why I think prayer is important, by the way, because we don't always know how to defeat it. But I understand being emotional, being upset, being frustrated, being heartbroken. So many are, and so you want to jump to whatever is comforting to you, and in some cases, politicizing it becomes sort of a safe place to be. But it's not a helpful place to be. A helpful place to be would be, especially if your job is in the press, to stick with the facts, to be rational about it. I think I preferred Governor Walz's take there to Jacob Frey's, where you're not going to that well immediately, because I think it does send people to their corners instead of allowing them to come together at least to grieve, if not to agree on solutions to a problem.
Mary Catherine, so I've known you for a long time, and I know what you went through and how you dealt with it with such grace, and have come out on the other side in a way that is just a joy to see with your additional children that you've gone on to have.
Thank you.
One last question about the bigger picture, and that is the crackdown on crime. You did have this from Politico reporter Rachel Bade, who is putting this into context for people about how voters and citizens are seeing Trump's crime crackdown. Listen here.
When you think about...
Why do we think it's okay to dictate how Catholics can grieve in the only way that they know how after being a target of a hate crime? Because it's okay to denigrate Catholics socially. For Democrats, it's okay for them to do that. That's the real answer. It's socially acceptable, so they do it.
voters and how they feel right now. Trump is really leaning in and sort of latching on to those fears. He wants to be the one to tell voters, I'm tough on crime. What are you going to do? And what Democrats are doing right now is saying, oh, you don't have the authority and crime is down. That doesn't resonate with people.
Your final thoughts this morning on that part?
Yeah, I think, look, I don't want to get too antiseptic about it and into the stats, but the fact is that the vast majority of gun crime is with not a mass shooting. So in D.C., for instance, there were far fewer homicides in the last 20 days than there were before that, right? Most people look at that and go, okay, that's good. We want more of that. So I think Democrats, the combination of saying prayer is bad and also cracking down on crime is bad, I think is a bad message combo to take to normal Americans, most of whom are on the side of prayer and cracking down on crime.
Yeah, obviously.
Catherine, thank you.
I mean, you can do both very clearly, right? It's pretty fucking obvious. I don't even know why it's even a question.
Go hug your children today as school's underway.
Thanks. As everybody should.
You are there, yes, indeed. Take care.
There it is. And I think this is where things are going. It's pretty obvious this is where things are going. And do you think it's only socially acceptable because of the whole priest trope? No, I think it's because it's a white-coded religion and it's socially acceptable to be racist against white people. That's the reason why I think that's the primary reason, and it's just that simple. I mean, obviously, like, people might not want to say that, but that's very clearly what the reason is.